I'm here at Adam and Eve DDB offices in London with Jemima Monies, Deputy Managing Director. We're here to talk about business development, best practice and shining the light on some tips and advice from the best in the business. So, big agency pitch comes in. How do you get the whole agency involved?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess we don't actively look to get every single person involved, but through the nature of pitching, it sort of touches every single department. So whether you're a designer that works on the RFI, or you're part of our office services team who helps prep the building, through to the actual people presenting, the nature of that process means that every department's touched. And I guess if you're busy on a pitch, you might have to rely on, your colleagues to pick up some of your day-to-day work, and in that sense, they're contributing as well. So, yeah, just by the nature of it, it touches every single, corner of the building, and that's why we really do celebrate as an agency and collectively, because even if you're not directly associated with the pitch, you will have indirectly contributed in some way.
So the industry's changed a lot over recent years. The approach to business development has too. What have you seen as the biggest changes over the last 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed dramatically since I started out sort of 8-10 years ago. Firstly, there's hundreds more agencies than there were back then, and all different types of agencies. We find ourselves pitching against consultants, digital agencies, not just ad agencies. And yeah, I mean, the rise of procurement, there's been lots of talk about that, but it's made for much longer processes, lots more paperwork, lots more stages. Yeah. And I guess the media landscape's, so different as well. So whereas sort of 5-10 years ago, we would have been pitching with a couple of scripts and print ads, we're now presenting ideas on every step of the customer journey, which makes for quite a bit of work, but also very exciting at the same time.
I can imagine. And how have you sort of changed your approach to adapt to that?
Yeah, I guess you need bigger pitch teams with people with different skills and expertise. But in terms of my own approach, I definitely see new business is much more than just pitching. Yeah. You have to kind of look at the agency as a whole and consider marketing, internal comms and PR. So whether it's a prospective client coming through the doors, or a new starter, or a journalist being introduced to us for the first time, they're all important into how the agency looks, and that in turn will drive the agency forward.
You mentioned business development, marketing, PR working together. Why is that important?
I'm slightly biased because I've always done both, but essentially they both heavily rely on the end product, which is the work, the creative work. If you don't have good people making good work, then you've got nothing to talk to people about, and whether that's a prospective client or talent that you're hoping to get into the agency, or a journalist, the focus is the work, and that's what's important to driving the agency forward.
When planning new business, how do you set about that and your focus and defining your new business objectives?
We've never been an agency that's had a big master marketing plan. Every year we obviously look at the sorts of brands we'd like to work with in that forthcoming year, and the sectors that perhaps we're not working in yet. But the focus really is every year on seeking out those clients that are going to give us the best creative opportunities. Some might be financially rewarding, some might be smaller brands with small budgets, or pro bono opportunities that give us the opportunity to make brilliant work and work with brilliant people. Two of our most creative projects this year were for charity clients, and between them they notched up 10 can lines between them, and in turn that brings in new business opportunities. So we definitely look at all sorts of opportunities across the spectrum.
Yeah, which is fantastic work and definitely justifies that approach. For us, I think a lot of the success you've had as an agency and sort of through your new business approach is an inspiration for many others in the business development community. Talking to a lot of the sort of business developers out there, so one of the questions I'm sort of often asked is how to find a good mentor. It sort of seems to be something that some of the best business developers out there seem to have a good sort of mentor in place, or also work as a mentor. Have you got any tips for someone either new in business development or at different levels that you would say this is what to look for in a mentor and how to find one?
I'm not sure you can necessarily sort of find a mentor. I think traditionally people have sort of stumbled across them. My mentor is someone called Lucy Barrett, who was editor of marketing when I was starting out as a journalist, and now she is at the Radio Centre. So she's sort of my sounding board for career advice. But I've never actually said to her, "You're my mentor," but we kind of have an unofficial thing. And she's been really supportive and given me good advice when I've come back to work from after having my first daughter. And she's got children herself. So I don't think you necessarily have to go up to someone and say, "Will you be my mentor?" But if you find someone on your career journey that you really like, that you get on with, that has an approach that you like, and sort of seems to be on your wavelength, then you've kind of found that person, and hopefully they'll recognise that, and you can talk to them about career moves and things like pay rises and all the sorts of things that you might not want to ask other people about. I was actually a NABS Fast Forward mentor this year, which was amazing. But I did feel quite a lot of responsibility, actually, particularly on the sort of work-life integration part of it. I definitely think mentors or unofficial mentors have quite a big role in that sense. We're always on, working longer hours than we ever have before, so finding someone that can understand that and you can talk to about personal stuff as well as work stuff is really important.
Thanks, Jemima. Couldn't agree more, and I'm sure a lot of our community will relate to a lot of those points. But some really, really interesting experience there shared, and thanks so much for making time for doing that today.
Thank you for having me.